So, welcome to Footprints in the Market. This is the last episode of season 2, and we are ending with a bang. We have got Catie Di Stefano from Vegas Kings. Thank you so much for joining us, Katie, or is it Vegas Queen? I've been reading. I love that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm the only female in the company, so I can actually have that
Wow,
title. Yeah.
I love. I remember when I was doing my research, I was like, oh, see, I can't have as cool a title as that. I'm just Sharon. That's it. There's nothing that fits in with digital footprints that I can do.
Uh, well, you just have to be more creative, or I'll help you figure something out later on.
Help me figure something out. Help me figure something out. Because it's good for personal branding. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. But I did a lot of time, I think 4 years. I just recently joined Vegas Kings 4 months ago now. So it's a new title. But before that, you can always make your own kind of
Yep.
journey, or so to say.
Well, you're wearing it well. You're wearing it well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So thank you so much for hopping on. It would be great, just even for starters, Katie, if you could give us a little bit of background from even before Vegas Kings, like how you got into the iGaming space and maybe some of your roles and some of your experience within that, a little bit about your journey.
Absolutely. So I started out 14 years ago. I'm originally from I was born in Indonesia, but I grew up in Sweden. And I ended up moving to Malta when I was 19 because I Googled where can Swedish people get jobs easily abroad. The Malta came up. Betsson needed customer support agents for the Swedish market, and that's how I ended up in Betsson, more or less. So it was really good, starting around being at Betsson as well, because I got to learn so much about the different brands and their products and their market, sorry, because they're working in so many different areas. And I started out with the Swedish market, but I did extend later on to all the Scandinavian markets and Europe and even some other markets. And I learned everything from, sports betting and casino to lottery to bingo to scratch cards. Betsson Group, it's such a big
Yeah,
group, more or less. So it was a
it's an
great
animal,
foundation.
isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it was great for my career start as well, because it really laid the foundation for my network. I got to know so many different people that later on believed in me and had trust in me, so I can get more opportunities later on. And after Betsson, I moved to GIG, or what it became later on, GIG. And I was there 6 years almost in total. I did everything from VIP to CRM to B2B. And it was also a great way for me to learn how to incorporate responsible gambling into marketing, because I already knew so much about the players, and it was really important for me after talking to players to learn how I can maintain players safely. And again at GAG, working with B2B was great for me because I got to get into the US market as soon as the Swedish regulation started. I don't know how much you aware about the Swedish regulation, but in 2019, they put in regulations where basically you can only get a welcome bonus, you can have no cashbacks
Yeah,
or reload bonuses,
yeah.
bonus bets, nothing. So I realized in 2019, I was 2018, I was like, shit, I can't stay as a
Yeah.
Swedish, specialist. And luckily I managed to get helping out Hard Rock when they were going to launch in the US for New Jersey. And it was just at the same time. And from then on, I've become a US expert instead. So it's really great in that way. And then from GIG, I actually went later on to consult for Hard Rock directly. I did that for 4 years, and then after that I launched a US affiliate website where I helped them license in 16 different states for sportsbook and casino. I learned about SEO and content and all these different regulations in the different states that I wasn't really aware about before. So it's been a long journey, but now I'm at Vegas Kings.
I love that, but you know what? I think it's really, really important because you've worked operator side, affiliate side, B2B side, and I always say that even when we're talking about our agency, I think that gives you a really good holistic approach, of the whole ecosystem and lets you really, really understand iGaming as a whole and kind of be a better marketer.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. And I think it's important to, especially if you're going to work in B2B, to have that experience of B2C in our industry. You need to understand that there's such a big difference, there, because even though like in B2C or B2B, sorry, we're all focused as well on casino, we need to approach a different type of, not player, but actually audience, that still understands and appreciate gambling in another way. I think in B2B, it's more about, building relationships because our industry is, so small. And I've noticed over the last decade that people actually hire people, not companies,
Yeah,
like even like me, you're going to come to Vegas Kings more likely because you know me and you trust me
yeah,
rather than that you know a lot about the brand. And the same goes, when I try to hire someone, I usually go and hire the right people. But in B2C, it's a lot more faster. You're testing creative, bonuses, onboarding flows. It's about what keeps the player engaged instead, where you're playing a lot on the emotions. So it's been an experience to really understand both of these sides.
100%. I think you're right in terms of like that building relationships specifically for B2B. I think that that's why like, we have so many conferences. I don't think there's an industry out there that has the same number of conferences as the iGaming world.
I mean, I don't have experience about any other industry because I grew up in this industry, but I'm not seeing any of my friends like working in
No.
other industry growing up, traveling and going to as much conferences as we do. Like it's crazy. But I also think being online and everyone, more or less working with a lot of different markets, they have to travel to
Yeah.
meet these people face to face. And I think especially after COVID, we appreciate those face to face building time, building relationships face to face a lot more. So for me,
Yeah.
especially like going to conferences is key because that's how I build trust and confidence with, my network and show that, I still know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I think COVID was like a really difficult time for this industry because we were all just so used to that, conference heavy approach. And then all of a sudden it's like mixers online and that kind of stuff. And it does take away that human element of that kind of like building relationships with people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And something I just came to think about as well. I've noticed, I don't know if you've noticed this in the industry, but after COVID as well, I've seen such a big rise of females in the industry getting more spotlight,
Yes,
right?
1,000,000%. And like and really, really influential spots as well, which is amazing.
Yeah, and I think I don't know why, but I think that's why I got in the spotlight as well. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
after COVID, like people were more open to listening to me, and I think more females are looking for inspiration in our industry,
Yeah.
what kind of journey you can go and which steps and getting guidance. So, yeah, it's been a game changer after COVID.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about Vegas Kings. Obviously, we've started off with your journey, but so you're director of marketing at Vegas Kings just now.
Yes, I'm director. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
No, no, no. Perfect. So give us a little bit of overview. Sorry, the agency itself. It's like got this creative first approach, right, to acquisition and retention.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the company was founded by two brothers, Ashley and Moshe Adir, and they basically have run it for 30 years, based in Cape Town, but a lot of focus like all over the world. And I think what makes them so different from many other agencies out there is that, yes, they focus on design and development, but they understand the industry a lot better than most other people out there because they've been in it since 1997 or 1998. I don't
Yeah.
remember. So almost like 30 years. So they really, both for acquisition and retention, understand, how to keep players alive and engaged. And through their experience, they've learned, everything is all about conversion-led design and UX. Every piece of creative that we put out there for acquisition has a huge amount of thought put into it regarding how to optimize the piece for conversion, from the color to the layout, the message and CTA. There's so many important things that they've learned to really take into consideration.
Amazing. In terms of like campaign successes with Vegas Kings and what sort of drives ROI, just from your perspective, what are the sort of like pillars really of high performing iGaming marketing campaigns?
I mean, storytelling, yes. Visual storytelling is really important as well. But it depends on the goal. Like, if it's a branding campaign, then yes, visual storytelling is key. If you want to create something that is eye-catching but still has people recognize, you need to also create a lot of trust out there.
Yeah.
But for pure acquisition, it's all about conversion. I think messaging needs to be short, sharp, and laser focused on the CTA, because I believe that clarity especially is more important than creativity when the goal is clicks and sign up, because you need to simplify everything. You know, people today, they're not going to go through 100 million steps just to get to the goal. It needs to be as simple as possible.
And what do you think the matters in terms of like the metrics? So I've had quite a lot of conversations about, acquisition versus retention. And I think that maybe previously there was a huge focus on that acquisition, but maybe like, less on like player churn. So it was all about, getting these FTDs through the door. What's your kind of perspective on that, and how do Vegas Kings align with like, the creative KPIs?
I mean, we will always align with the client's KPIs, but for best results, we need access to real data and to optimize better and do proper A/B testing. But I 100% agree with you. I think a lot of brands right now in our industry is all about acquisition, and they put millions of dollars in budgets for acquisition, but they don't really care about retention. And I think for us, and me coming from CRM and VIP, like I've worked a lot, with building these types of campaigns and making sure that, we have a VIP loyalty system or whatever. But I think honestly, the future when it comes to that is really building more with gamification. Honestly, even like maybe developing your own gamification. And that's something like whether you want to develop gamification or you're using another gamification tool and want to create a skin, I think that's something we at Vegas Skins can help with a lot, whether it's the design with the skins or the development. But yeah, I think that's the future for retention, to focus more on gamification once they're in the door.
And what about some of the marketing challenges? So obviously you're an expert in terms of like the US. So see, in terms of regulatory complexity, how do you guys adapt and remain agile within those regulated markets? You have that knowledge in house, you know exactly what you should do creative wise, or how does that work?
I mean, of course, we work with the brands as well to check what they're
Yeah.
looking for and what they want to do. But we have a lot of experience in different markets. Like you said, like US is my strongest market. And even for Vegas Kings, they've been in the US for so many decades now. But being that I have a lot of focus also from Europe, and they've also had a lot of designers and developers from Europe, and the company is also based in Africa, we are very like spread out and have experience from all different markets like Latam, even Asia, So in addition to that, we're able to adapt very quickly in each market thanks to our experience. And then of course, when it comes to building development of creatives, it's super important to stay not only compliant, but also culturally appropriate, if you know.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't want
yeah.
to have someone create a scandal and so we're able to have that eye and see, what can happen if you don't do it the right way.
And what about audience saturation? There's more and it's getting more and more competitive within this space. There's more and more brands getting there. How do you help your clients like stand out from that? Well, what is a noisy kind of crowd?
I mean, I think it's a lot about personalization and customization, right? When it
Yeah,
comes to customers and making sure that they feel seen. Because players today, they're a lot more educated on marketing than they were 10, 20 years
yeah,
ago. They're not going to let
100%.
anything that feels salesy and generic even catch their attention. So I think that is super, super important, and it's something that we can help with. And not to go too much into AI now, but like even
Yeah.
AI, I think is hugely important to making sure that you can customize and personalize fast. And also, if you're working with these campaigns, to deliver them quickly, if I put it like that.
Yeah. Don't worry, AI was going to be my next question anyway, Katie. So you're bang on the money. So you've kind of answered that. But do you use it personally? Like, so do you use it? Because
Yeah.
obviously you do quite a lot of posts on LinkedIn, which I love, by the way. I love every one of your videos. So do you use that personally for like creative prompts, or making things faster, or how do you
Honest,
kind of use AI on an everyday basis as a marketer?
So, I mean, how long has AI been alive now? I was gonna say ChatGPT. But like I think what 3 years, 2 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And at the time when ChatGPT was launched, it was a game changer for me because I was working with online gamblers and we were creating news articles every single day. So we had to create a lot of content fast, and absorb the content, and create images and everything like that. So that was a game changer for me when I was an affiliate. But now working with PR, I mostly use, like you said, with the videos. Thank you, by the way. I mostly use AI a lot with the videos. So whether it's to, change the colors or change the music, or I've recently
Yeah.
done a couple of like AI narrator videos. So the narrator is actually AI. That has been amazing. Like just the narrator thing, being able to have someone else like change what they're saying, because I don't know if you're like me, but I think everyone hates their own voice. Like I
Yeah.
can't listen to my own voice. Like even now with this podcast, like I might listen one
Yep.
time, but I will cringe the whole time, and then I can never do it again. And with AI, having someone else say everything, it's so much easier. I don't feel the same critical way. So it's been amazing in that way. And then I use AI, of course, a lot with analyzing data. I think it's amazing whether it's analyzing where my audience is on LinkedIn and how many posts are performing and why they're performing that certain way and whatever. So that's how I use it a lot more today. But honestly, not as much as I did as an affiliate. That was daily all the time. Now it's more like when I have to.
But I think you're right though. I think it's helped like see marketers that maybe don't have like the self-confidence to like build their own personal brand because they do like maybe hate the sound of their own voice, that kind of thing. They do have that like cringe moment, which I'm terrible for. I hate listening to myself back. It's probably then giving them that flexibility to be able to create stuff that they don't maybe always need to be, straight in the face of or have their voice attached to it.
Mm. Yeah, no, exactly. And I think like when I started doing videos 2021, I was still recording in my iPhone camera, adding text manually,
Mm-hmm.
with emojis manually in Instagram, and then exporting it and editing everything together in iMovie. Like it was so many steps. It took me a day to do one video. Now I can do it in like a couple of hours. Like it's insane how the technology has changed in just a couple of years. And like you say, it brings out so much more creativity in me because it doesn't take the same amount of time, and I can,
Yeah.
get the message out there a lot more clearly. I've also asked like AI to help me with scripts and stuff like that. So there's, you can use it for anything, not only in gambling, but oh, speaking of gambling, it's actually quite interesting. We had a client come to us that had created a slot machine completely with a free AI tool. And
Wow.
yeah, and so there's so much more things you can out there. And he came to us because he wanted more like, development and design on how to make it more appealing, which of course,
Okay.
like, I think that's the best way to do it when you combine humans with AI,
Yep.
whether it's
Yeah.
like that in development or like me creating my videos and like scripts, that's the best recipe basically.
That's amazing though. That's like a big case. That's a marketing spin in itself, creating it completely from a free AI tool. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, exactly. No, it was really incredible.
So you've been at Vegas, as you say, for 4 months now. So is there any like how are you planning to help it expand or innovate under your sort of marketing leadership? What's your sort of goals for the brand?
Well, I mean, Vegas Kings already, like I've known them for years and I've
It's
always
massive.
been
Yeah.
like they're incredible like people, and whenever I've asked them, for help or even hire them, like I've always been super, super happy. So I don't feel like I have so much more to change inside the company, right? Because they're
Yep.
perfect as they are. I love them. They've been
Oh, I love that.
then they have been delivering top tier design and development for the iGaming industry for almost 30 years. So like they know what
Yeah.
they're doing. But for me, it's more about like screaming from the top of my lungs, like that
Yeah.
they actually exist, because Moshe and Ashley, the brothers, they're very, very shy.
Yeah.
So I can be that person screaming it out there and create brand awareness. And, coming from VIP and all of that, I'm very good at building relationships and I have a big, wide network. So for me, it's more about making sure that people are aware and keep staying aware that they exist, and are the best.
I was hoping as well, Katie, you would give us some sort of general advice for iGaming marketers, like people coming into the iGaming space, do you have any tips or insights for like new marketing brands that are launching within iGaming?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think start by getting the fundamental right. Like know your audience, understand your market, and make sure your brand actually means something. I think it's so easy to blend in when everyone's offering, the same bonuses and spinning the same slots. Like everything is exactly the same. So you always have to focus on what makes your brand different.
100%. And have you seen any like common mistakes or like common pitfalls over the years that you kind of think this is what you should avoid?
I think, like we talked about before, like everyone focuses too much on acquisition and too little on retention. I
Yeah.
think, that's something that really has to change, and that's where I see like most casinos actually fail long term. They might have really low bonuses, or the communication is really off, or the onboarding is bad, and everyone knows that players, they usually play on like 3 to 4 different casinos. So if you're not treating them right, your competitor are. So it's important to find something that makes players invested in your brand and your community.
Yeah.
I think that's as well like why a loyalty system or like gamification or
Yeah.
something that makes them collect and feel like they belong is
Yeah.
hugely important if you don't want to fail.
Well, that might tie in at my next question actually, because what I was going to say is like, see, when you're a startup within this space, it's hectic, it's like a whirlwind, and it's difficult to find time to do everything. But if there was like one thing or two things that you would say this is not what you should be cutting corners on, what would those things be?
I definitely don't think you should cut corners on branding consistency or user experience or localization, because UX directly affects conversion. And if you're not localizing properly with language or tone or even payment
Yeah.
options, you're leaving money
Yeah.
on the table. I think especially in regulated markets, because I mean, those small details really matter to that tiny audience.
What I thought I would do, I've not done this with any other guest yet, Catie, so I'm hoping that you'll be my first one. What I thought I'd do is do a quick lightning round
Okay, go ahead, go
questions.
ahead.
So I'm just going to ask you short, snappy questions, and you're just to kind of answer. So, what's the campaign you've been most proud of in your career?
Launching Hard Rock online in New Jersey. It was huge.
Amazing. And one trend that you think is overhyped?
The metaverse. I think it's really
Yeah,
cool, but there's no point in developing metaverse casinos because the word is not there yet.
I agree. And what's your biggest marketing pet peeve?
People using too much AI on LinkedIn when you can like see that it was
I
not
can tell.
written by you. Yeah, it's so clearly like you don't speak like that. It's obvious.
Like I've had this a conversation with you. I know you don't talk.
Yeah, exactly.
And your go-to inspiration source?
I love being inspired by smaller creators. Like I think they don't have the same type of rules as, big
Yeah.
influencers or when you launch a book or whatever. So I really look a lot to TikTok influencers and YouTubers and LinkedIn influencers.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Catie. I'm going to end on just one last question. What would be like the biggest piece of advice that either you've received or that you could kind of pass on to a new market within this space that maybe you've learned as you've kind of come along, but maybe didn't know straight away?
I think it's so important to play games when you work with gambling. You have to, whether it's sports betting or casino or lottery, like you have to play the games
Yeah.
to understand them. You have to understand the mindset and the psychology and like everything behind it, what makes it attractive to a player. And if you understand that, then you're way ahead of half of the industry.
Jason. Casey, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it because I know then you're doing like a speaking tour, it feels like, which is amazing. So I know your time's really important. So thank you so much for being part of Footprints in the Market and closing this season off. It's been amazing speaking to you.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for having me. It was lovely to be here, and I hope to speak to you soon again.